I'm just going to put my phone on silent first so it doesn't interrupt this live session. Hello everyone, and welcome. Okay, so we're waiting for people to join in. Hi everyone, good afternoon. Yeah, so people are joining. Thank you. Hi Sophie, thank you very much. You're very much welcome to today's live, brought to you courtesy Nexi Concept Limited. I'm already seeing I applied already. Did you ask a question? Okay, so I don't know what that is in reference to. If you can ask again what you applied to and what you need answers to, then I'll probably be able to answer you. So thank you for coming to today's live session that we're having today. My name is Roslyn, and as usual, we're here live to bring to you some information about those of you who are looking to study abroad, right? Today we're going to be talking about some countries and the funding you would need if you were thinking of studying in those countries. This is a very popular question because you need to check your pockets before you study or before you sponsor someone going to study. And this is also a very key factor that people use in making a decision to study in one country over another country. And that is why we're here today to talk about some of these popular destinations that we hear about. So we're going to be looking at between 5 to 6 to 7 countries, depending on how much time we have. And then I'm going to be taking your questions. Of course, if you need more information or you need clarification or you need specific information that applies to your situation, you can always reach out to us and then we'll be able to give you personalized answers. So do not mind that I'm going to be looking at my system here and then my notepad, because some of these require figures that I can't just have in my head. I'm already old and I cannot be calculating things, all the time. So I'm going to be looking at my laptop and my notepad while we're talking. So just bear that in mind. So I have a question here and I don't know what, so I'm just going to go through. Let me just see if I can quickly answer that before we go into the live. I applied through Nexi. This is Damilola Victoria for foundation course in nursing in the UK. Okay, so I don't know what, okay, so thank you first of all, Damilola, for trusting us to make your application. I don't know what the question is exactly, or if you just wanted to announce that you're working with us. So thank you very much for saying that. So now we're going to be going into the conversation proper, right? For those of you who want to study abroad, being in Nigeria currently with the exchange rates going up and down has not been the best period. I think the past 1 year has seen very drastic changes in the exchange rate, and this has really cut off a lot of countries that were on people's radar. So before now, the UK, Canada, US, even Ireland were countries that people frequently went to and could afford. But unfortunately, with the way rates have changed and the policies that were put in place before you can actually even make payments to the bank, which would most likely give you at a slightly lesser rate than what you would get, in the black market or in using any other channel, that has been eliminated, right? So it is not easy for people to get that. And before, I think I made a similar video a year or two ago where I was breaking down what you would need to study, and when we're talking about the UK, it was pretty affordable. The total money you're going to need for your visa application was less than $1 million, but now it's way above that. So we're going to be breaking that down, and then we're going to be looking at other options for people who are not able to afford such high amounts. So but first off, we'll start with the UK. So why would you want to study in the UK? I would say that's one of the most popular destinations for Nigerians, especially recently in the past 3 to 4 years, where a lot of people went into the UK to study for their masters. But before this rush, there was already a very healthy Nigerian student market for UK institutions. Okay, so Nigeria was already a prime market for them to get international students. But after some reviews in the immigration policies and people found they could go with their dependents at a postgraduate level, a lot of people took advantage of that so they could be with their families while they develop themselves academically. Now, during that period, I would say tuition ranged from around 8,000, 9,000 to around 15,000, 20,000, depending on the school. This is because even when schools were offering tuition as high as 10 to 12,000, there were significant deductions. So 1K here, 2K here, 3K pounds here and there for sub-Saharan African students or Nigerian students specifically. But of course, every year there is a percentage increment that almost all schools, if not all schools, do. So they adjust their international fees every year. They adjust for inflation, they adjust for whatever reason, they just adjust. So over the years, we've seen the lowest tuition range for international students jump from around 9 to 10,000 to around 14 to 15,000. So that's like the around the lowest that you can get for an international as an international student in the UK. So apologies in advance. I'm working from home and my son is here and he's crying. So guys, please, if you hear some cries and anything, please don't mind him. And it's actually very distracting right now. Okay, so now for the UK, you're gonna get something like I would say 14 to 15,000 pounds if you're not working with a scholarship, right? And some schools will still give you some discounts, which will now drive this this figure down by maybe another 1 to 2K. But let's work with 15,000 pounds as the minimum. Now, also previously, people could get 1,000 pounds deposit. People could get 1,500. People get 2,500. But we've also seen changes in this aspect, right? Because as at that time it was easier. Pounds was exchanging for around 400 for something, or even 300 at some point, and people could make this payment through the bank. So schools were not scared that their monies will not be coming to them. But now, with how volatile things are and how difficult it is to use proper banking channels, schools want their money, right? So the minimum deposits have also increased. So you're going to be seeing things like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and even above for a minimum deposit. Okay, so Brian, so just give me a moment. Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm very sorry about that. So you're going to be seeing things like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and even above as a minimum deposit. And this is because schools want their money, right? Also, initially, we also had more flexibility when it comes to the installment plan that you would get. So before, some schools will offer you 4 installments, 5 installments, very flexible installment plans. I say, give me my bar, please, guys. I'm not in Nigeria. If you give me my bar, maybe you will come and bail me from police station, or I can't shout. Okay, so they don't do that here. All right, so what was I saying? I was a bit distracted. So now a lot of schools do not offer that I would say very flexible deposit anymore. So I'm saying this for people that are still interested in going to UK, because the UK still offers a lot of opportunities which you will get into. But I just want you to understand what you're getting yourself into when you want to study in the UK. Okay, so now you need to prepare for I would say at most 5,000 pounds as a minimum deposit, and you should be working with around 15,000 pounds as your tuition fee. Now, some schools have been so kind, looking at the situation that is talking about so talking about initial deposit. Are there UK schools that accept 3,000 pounds? Maybe please, one of the counselors, can you respond to this if there's any school currently? But I would say the lowest is around 4 to 5,000, and that's what you should be working with, because they just want to get their money. So some of them might collect £3,000 to get the offer, right? But before you get your car, say they give you an offer, an initial offer, conditional, you need to meet maybe certain conditions and stuff like that, and then it takes you up to getting your unconditional offer. But as at the time you're getting your cars, you should have maybe made up to like 5,000 or thereabout. So Hall accepts 4K. If my information is right, Hall is still 4K. It was before that it was 3K. Hall is 4K, and there are lots of benefits when you're going to study in Hall, which is one of our partner schools. They still accept installments, which was where I was going to. Okay, yeah, Hall is 4,000. So, but not a lot of people would be eligible for Hall because they don't accept C6, right? And a lot of people in their WAEC have C6, and if you're not willing to write your IELTS, so that is already something that you're not eligible for. And for some people, they want specific courses. So I'm talking about the average here. So there are some schools that are still slightly lower in terms of fees, tuition fees, in terms of also discounts. Like there's a very huge discount that Dundee is also giving as well, which sees you paying lesser than 15,000. But these are specific schools that would be on a case-by-case basis. So for instance, if you have an HND, that is not an option that is available to you. Roehampton is 2.5. Okay, so let's get confirmation from one of our counselors. Okay, is that before CAS? Okay, guys, I'm getting distracted. I'm not going to answer any of your questions until I finish. Is IELTS 2022 still valid? No, IELTS of 2022, yes, it's still valid. It's valid for 2 years. So if it's within 2 years, if you write it, say maybe September 2022, it's still valid to September 2024. But if it's, say you wrote it March 2022, then it's already expired. So it is only valid for 2 years. Okay. So guys, I'm not unfortunately I work in visa department, so I might not be able to give you specific I would say answers to tuition fees for a particular school looking for a particular degree or result. So I'm seeing a question here that says, does Teesside Uni accept C6 in English? That is something that a counselor has information at their fingertips that they can give to you. I work mainly for with the visa team, and I don't have those nitty-gritty information. However, I do have my counselors here on our live, and I'll be asking them to answer these questions as we go along so that I can announce it and everybody can hear. But if you need specific information, please reach out to us and we'll be able to give you those information. But what I'm talking about here is just the general thing that is applicable. We might still get lower, it might still get higher, and some people might still get additional scholarships. So there are some scholarships that are available for you to apply to, and you get some money knocked off your tuition fee balance. So if that is applicable to you, then that's a one-off thing. But generally, people are going to be getting tuition fees that are around the range of 15,000 and above, and then you need to be getting ready to pay like a deposit of around 5,000 as well if you're still looking at the UK as a school option. Now, for some schools, you are able to get 2 deposits, two installments after you arrive. Some will still give you up to 3, some will still give you up to 4, some will still give you beyond, but most would be around 2 to 3 deposits. So that's what you should be preparing for. So I'm going to go to Oanda now so that we can just do a rough calculation of what that means. Okay. So if I can just go back to my, so I'm looking at 1,000, one pound being 1,430 naira. So give or take, if you're using some channels, you might be paying more or less. But we're going to be using this figure here as something that we can have concrete for the purpose of this video and of today. So if we're paying £5,000, right, times 1,430, so that's about 7.1 million. So you should be having around this amount available when you get your offer, 7.1 million. So now once you have done this, you get your CAS, you're ready for your visa application. Now visa application now comes with other costs that are associated with your visa application. So if you're going to if you're going as a student, your visa fee is around 430 £90, which is about $620. That is what you have to pay as your visa application. So I'm going to do a calculation of that now so that we can see. So let's see, 490. So that's around 700,000. Okay. All right. So before you even get to this point, as a student in the UK, you need to account for the balance of your tuition fee. Let me get to that before I get here. You need to account for the balance of your tuition fee, and you also need to account for your maintenance costs. So as we're taking an average of 15,000, you need to account for 10,000 in your account as the balance of your tuition fee. And going by this, it will be 14.3 million naira. Then if you're studying in London, you're going to be needing more money than if you were studying outside of London. So if you're studying in London, you're going to be needing about £12,006. If you're studying outside London, you're going to be needing £9,207. Now, if we're adding 12,000, let's use outside London, right? So we're adding 10,000 plus 9,207. That's 19,207 times 1430. So that's about 27 million minimum that you're supposed to have in your bank account. Now, because of how volatile our exchange rate has been, I would advise that you have about 100 naira above on each pound. So that might take your minimum balance in your bank account to around 30 million. So for people looking to study in the UK, please, you need to show a 1-month bank statement that has the balance of your tuition fee and your maintenance cost. If you're going into London, you have more maintenance costs to account for. If you're going outside London, you have lesser maintenance costs to account for. Now, if you're going into outside London and we're working with an average of 15k school with 5k already paid, you should be needing roughly around 30 million as of today. Now, if by tomorrow the pound continues to drop, then you would need lesser money as it drops. If by tomorrow the pound increases, then you'll be needing more money as the case might be. So let's just hope that the first case is actually the real case that happens. It goes down and it continues to go down, because this was something that was very affordable for a lot of people. Most people didn't need more than 15 million, 17 million in their account, and they were good to go. But all of a sudden, everything has just changed. So this is monies that you don't actually have to pay, you just have to account for. But what you need to pay, what we're calculating, you need about 7 million for your tuition fee, you need about 700,000 for your visa fee. And then give me a moment. Then you need about 776 pounds for your IHS fee. Okay, so if you have an 18-month, now IHS is not calculated for the duration of your study, it's calculated for the duration of your visa. Most times if you're doing a 12-month course, you're going to get maybe 18 or more months, because once you're done with your school, you need to wait for your results, and you need to have enough time in case you're having issues. Maybe you'll have to repeat certain courses, at least to be able to get your diploma and have enough time on your visa to apply for your postgraduate work visa. So you're going to be paying for that duration. Okay, so you're going to be paying, let's calculate this with a calculator. So I want us to do it live so that we have that 1,430. So you're going to be needing about 1.144. Let's just say 1,150,000. Now, if we add this to the visa fee plus around 700,000 for visa fee, you're going to be needing about 1.844. Let's just say about 1.9 million for your visa fee. So as a student looking to, as a prospective student looking to study in the UK, you should have around 9 million naira that you need to spend for your deposits as well as your visa application. Now, this is not in addition to your accommodation you need to get when you get to school. It's also not in addition to the flights. Now, I'm not going to be going into flights because we've been having also changes within that space. Flights were really expensive very recently, up to 2 to 3 to 4 million for even a one way. But now, fortunately, with the drop in the dollar as well as airpiece going into the game, we're seeing a very huge reduction in the price of tickets. So you can get tickets as low as 1.1, 1.2. And if you're even buying far into the month, you probably even get less than 1 million. So we're not going to be going into that, but you need to account for that as well. So I think we're done with the UK. Let me just see their questions pertaining to UK before I go on, so that I just know I've dealt with the question. So yeah, for all the initial deposits, please guys reach out to us. Our marketing guys can send you to our University of York is 3K. University of York, is that not in London? You're going to be needing more money. Okay. This is my colleague. Oh, University of York is 3K. Okay. Schools with 3K deposits. Okay, thank you. Rampton is 2.5 now. Oh, T-side accepts C6. So I don't know if T-side accepts C6. Please someone answer that. Can an admission of 2022 be used? Oh, no. An admission of 2022 cannot be used. It's already gone. An admission expires once the intake period has expired. So what you can do is you can ask the school to defer that admission. Why a deferment is better than reapplication is that you're using the same documents that they have processed initially to give you another offer for another intake. So you might not need to have another statement of purpose. You might not need to re-upload your documents, re-upload your CV. So if those are things that you're really bothered about, and then it also helps to guarantee a place in the next session. But some schools might require you to apply again, so you need to start the application from scratch. Now, for you that you have 2022 admission, I don't think that it's possible to defer. Usually you can defer, say you defer from January to September, or September to January, or maybe April, May to September, and so on and so forth, or till the very next intake. But 2022 is already 2 years back. I don't think that would count, because there are a lot of things that have happened in your life, maybe change of job and certain conditions and situations. So you most likely would need to apply again. And that is something that we can do for you very easily, free of charge. So please send us a DM and then we will get working on that. It's a very easy process for us to handle for you. So yeah, thank you, Ebon. You've already said. Pounds is 140 today on Rwanda. Yeah, thank you. I've seen it. What about France? We'll get into that now. So in all, how much do we need for UK? So in all, for your visa application, for your school fees and initial deposit, you need around 9 million. My son is here. You need around 9 million naira, right? But it might be lesser than this. Guys, pray that our Naira continues to reduce. Okay, the value of the exchange rate continues to reduce. Not Naira, sorry, reducing the value of dollar, so that Naira gains against the dollar. So if it continues to reduce, then of course you're going to be needing lesser money. And from what my colleagues have said here, there are a couple of schools who also accept 3K, 3.5. So if those are the schools and you qualify for them, if they have certain requirements that you are able to meet, then you would definitely be needing lesser amounts. So this is money out of pocket, but you also need to account for the money in your account for 1 month, 28 days bank statements. You need to actually show the balance of your tuition fee. So if a 3K school now is actually 18K or 19K, if you pay 3K, you have to account for, say, a 19K school, you have to account for, that will be £16,000 in your account, which will be around 20 something already. Then you also need to account for, say it's York now that is in London, 12,006. You also need to account for that in your bank statement. That money doesn't leave your pocket, but it has to be somewhere. So either in your bank statement or your sponsor's bank statement. Who can be your sponsor? Your mom, your dad, yourself, your spouse. Okay, those can be your sponsor for your studies. So that is something you need to account for. And please guys, you need to start preparing. If you want to go to school in September or even January, you need to start preparing now, because some of these things require you to plan well. And a lot of people that we've seen either miss out on their admission or even get delayed, not delayed rather, denied or banned, is because of lack of proper preparation, right? So if you don't prepare proper, especially when it comes to the visa application period, then there's almost nothing you can do. They already give you a deadline. The school gives you a deadline to work with. You have a deadline to make your visa application. You have a deadline to arrive at the school. So there are so many deadlines in between those periods that the rush is definitely too much. So if you do not act on time, you might actually miss out. Or if you're lucky and not miss out, it might be a very difficult moment for you. Meanwhile, some people have it very easy, especially working with people like us. So that's why you need to start on time. So it was deferred to 2023. So ask them again if they want to like carry your deferment, further to 2024, because 2023 is already over 4 months gone. Can I get master's admission with HND? Yes, you can. For some schools, these are very limited and very competitive, but it is very possible, especially if you're going for a business course. But the counselors will have more information about this, and please send us a DM, Otumba Adeyinka. Yeah, so I think I am done with that. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about Ireland. Ireland is not a very popular destination for Nigerians. Why? It's actually a very, very, very amazing country. And the people that know about this place have been taking advantage left, right, center, and then no one is the wiser. But now I'm coming to open your eyes. That's why I'm here, okay? I will open your eyes to the fact that Ireland is an amazing country with amazing opportunities. It just has a bit more stringent rules that you need to follow. But if you are qualified for this, then why not take advantage of it? And there's a bit of flexibility when it comes to who can even sponsor you, as opposed to the UK, where you might have issues if maybe your sister or a cousin or auntie's brothers, is coming to sponsor you, that you might have to do more work in that regard. But for Ireland, it is more feasible or more possible for even extended families, family friends to sponsor you, but with a lot of documents to back it up. So it's not as if you just bring one random person, okay? You need a lot of documents to back it up to ensure that that sponsor is really going to sponsor you. Show maybe history of how they have done so in the past and how they're able to afford to do so, okay? So we're going to be talking about what you would need if you were going to go to Ireland. Now, Ireland is a fantastic country, a pretty small country, about 5 to 6 million in terms of their population, but they have really amazing schools. The great thing is that they also speak English, I bet a bit with an accent, but it's English that we can understand, right? And we also have an accent, so, and then people can understand us. So in terms of the tuition, they work with euros. So in this case, you're going to be paying slightly lesser. So first of all, let me change my Rwanda to euro so that we can just do some small calculation with this. So we have euro, and euro today is 1,221 naira. Okay, so we're going to be working with this figure. Now, like I said, for the UK, Ireland also has a yearly increment in tuition fees. So I would say 3-4 years back, you could get schools as low as 10,000-11,000 with a 1K discount. You could actually get that. But now we have schools that are like 13, 14 and above, okay? So there are still opportunities for scholarship discounts, I would say, for people with really good results. So your 2-1s and your first class, these are the advantages of actually reading really well in school. So kudos to you guys that have amazing results. But you do get certain additional discounts for having that result. So, but we're going to be working with an average of about £13,000, okay? So give or take if you get certain discounts. So £13,000 times 1,222. I do the calculation. So you have 15.8 million, or I'll say 15.9 million because it's 15,873. Now, give or take, this might be a bit lesser, a bit lower, depending on when you're paying, and depending on the platform you're paying through, because some platforms also have their transaction fees. Okay, so I would say the not so great side about working with Ireland is that it actually is capital intensive. Usually most schools require you to pay upfront 100% of your fees. Now there are some adjustments to this. Some schools are beginning to accept 60%, 65%, 70%, or even 50%. However, when it comes to the visa application, you cannot apply for your visa if you haven't paid up to 60%. Now, what some schools will do is allow you to pay up to this, but before you land in Ireland, you have to have made up to your 100% of your tuition fee. So they are not looking for stories. They want you already to be sorted, right? You're coming and then they're not chasing you for money. But I believe that there are some changes to this. Some schools are beginning to adjust, especially as they see that you might be able to afford it, but you might not have the money at hand. So probably your sponsor, is someone who has a business. So there's inflow, there's outflow. They can afford to pay maybe a certain chunk and then plan towards the next chunk, right? So it's not as if they cannot afford it, but bringing it at once might not be possible, especially as euro is now so expensive. So initially, when euro was around 400, 300 and something, this amount would have been, I'll just do a rough calculation. We have about 15.9 here. We have 13,000 times, let's use 400. It's having, sorry, 13,000 times 400. So that's about 5.2. So 5.2, would have not been a very big problem for a lot of people to pay initially. But now we have 15.9, let's just say 16 million I need to pay. I need to pay about 60% of this money before you're able to apply for visa. So this is where it eliminates a lot of people. But I tell you, if you're able to afford this, it offers very great opportunities. It's a lovely place to be in. You also get something similar to what you get in the UK, which is a 2-year post-study work visa. And you're able to work up to 20 hours during your study period and then up to 40 hours when during your holiday. And the great thing about this, unlike the UK, is that in the UK you need a job sponsorship to be able to switch your visa type. But in Ireland, there's a way to actually sponsor yourself. This is not the purpose of this video, but this is one of the advantage that Ireland has over the UK, and as well as a lot of job opportunities in the tech and medical space. So if you are a tech person or in the medical space and you can't afford this, then I think it's a good one. Now, another thing about Ireland that maybe might make people not really want to try is the visa application process. So unlike the UK, you require a 4 months bank statement minimum. So 4 to 6 months bank statement, the more the better, okay, to show a history of having those type of amounts in your account. So if you're working with a school that allows you to pay 60, 65, 70, you need to show the balance of your tuition in your bank account. You also need to show about 7,000 to 8,000 pounds as your living cost. Now you need to now calculate with the prevailing exchange rate. So, but like I would say, this is not money you have to bring out of your pocket. So we're just going to be calculating that, okay, you're going to need XYZ amount of money. So let's say we're working with about, I would advise that you even need to do about 10,000 pounds, okay? Because things are already rising, they are adjusting for inflation. So if they say bring 7,000, you have 7,000 in your account, that might be a problem. So let's say we're working with 10,000 pounds as your living cost. Then you'll be needing to have about 12 million in your account for a period of 4 months. So it is not, it does not require as much money in your account as would the UK. For a student to be requiring about almost 30 million versus somebody to be requiring about 12 million. But the difference is that you have to have had it for a longer period of time. Other amounts of money you need to account for would be your English tests. You would need an IELTS or a Duolingo or a TOEFL or one of the English tests for your visa. Unfortunately, you have to apply with an English test result for your visa. The school might waive it, right? The school might not require it because you're coming from Nigeria, you've been taught in English, your degree, or you've even had work experience, and your organization can confirm that your method of communication has been English. But for the purpose of your visa, you would need that. I don't think I confirmed how much the visa processing is. It was around 200 or 250 previously. I'm very certain that this amount of money would have increased. But compared to the almost 2 million you would need during your visa application, Ireland is way lesser. Okay, so the major amount you're going to be accounting for really would be your tuition fee. And if you're working with 13,000, that would be around how much did I 16 that would be around 16 million naira. Okay, using today's exchange rate. So we're going to be working with France now. Just a moment. So why would you want to study in France? I think I got a question about France. First of all, France is in Schengen country. Now, the difference between Ireland and the rest of Schengen countries like France is that for Ireland, when you get your Irish visa, your study permit and all that, it does not give you entrance into the Schengen area, unfortunately. Ireland is part of the EU. That is an organization of as European Union, organization of countries in the European Union, in Europe, right? Not every European country is in the EU, but most of them are. Now, the UK was also part of the EU, but they did not adopt the currency. So the UK maintained their pounds, especially because pounds was higher. But was it 2020 or 2021 or was it 2019? The UK exited the EU, which was the Brexit that everybody was hearing about, and that actually opened up more opportunities for people outside of the EU. Okay, because a lot of EU lost their status, had to go back to their country, and then it was now free for all. Like everybody from around the world can get equal opportunities in the UK. But for Ireland, they are part of the EU, but they are not part of the Schengen states, right? They are not part of Schengen. So your study permit or visa cannot actually give you visa-free entrance into the rest of the Schengen countries. But of course, you can easily get a visa and then you can get to travel. However, France does give you that ability. So if you have your study permit, you do have ability to visit the rest of the 26 Schengen states. And they're actually having more countries coming in. I think 2 countries, Romania and one of those other smaller countries, have recently joined the Schengen, but not as a full status. So you actually have more countries that you're able to visit, more countries that you're able to look at opportunities around. So if you study in France and you study something that is really competitive and desirable in other countries, you can from France move to Netherlands or move to Germany or move to whichever country that so pleases you. So that is actually the amazing thing about studying in Europe. Now, the not so amazing thing, of course, is the language. You do have opportunities to study in English. Most of these countries are opening up opportunities for people to study in English. Why? Because English is readily acceptable around the world internationally. Secondly, a lot of countries have different languages, right? So say somebody is from a Spanish-speaking country, you want to study in France. Are they going to have Spanish-speaking schools as well? Another person is speaking Portuguese. Someone else is speaking Swahili. Another person is speaking Chinese. They cannot have different languages opportunities if they want to open up their educational sector to international for international opportunities. So English serves as that general medium where every other country or every other foreign national who, despite having other national languages or mother tongues, can learn English and then take advantage of studying in a foreign country. So the rest of Europe, or a lot of European countries offer this. So we have the likes of France, Austria, Germany, Finland, Malta, Poland, and so on and so forth. They have a lot of English programs that people can take advantage of. However, in this, I think we have about 15 minutes more. I'm just taking 2. So I'll be taking France. I'll be taking maybe Malta, and then make it 3. I'll be taking Canada as well. Okay. So if you have like I said, if you have France, you can go everywhere. You can study in English. If you want to avail yourself of more opportunities, then you now learn the local language. Or say, for instance, there's an opportunity or chance card in Germany. You already have your Schengen visa. You get 1 year after your study. You can be studying and learning German, and the minute you're done, you come to Germany, get the opportunity chance card, and look for a job with a degree that has been given to you in France. So you are better positioned internationally. So even if you don't want to learn the language where you're studying, learn the language for where you're going to, you know, and avail yourself of the opportunity once you are done. Okay, so that is that for France. Besides the fact that it is the #1 most visited destination. Hello, Paris. Okay, so it's beautiful. You have a lot of opportunities. It is a place to go to. Now for France, there are like different opportunities. So a lot of people come to us and say, oh, I want to study in France. And if I tell you, oh, you should be budgeting around 7,000 to 8,000 pounds, and you're like, but I'm seeing 2K, I'm seeing 1K, I'm seeing 500, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. Now there are opportunities for very, very cheap tuition fee, but a lot of these opportunities are in public schools, and you would require French. And not just require French for French sake, you would require to write an exam, a DELF or DALF exam. The beautiful thing about these exams are they are for life. So say you have a B2. For some schools, you would need a B2. For others, you need a C1 if you're going for like higher studies. And a C1, even our English, we have not spoken C1 in Nigeria. You're now speaking C1 in French. You have to have studied really hard, probably done a French program, like pretty intense French program, like maybe like an undergraduate, or maybe also schooled in Benin or Togo or Cameroon. Okay, so it's really high level French that you would need if you're going for higher courses. So you would need to provide a DELF or DALF certificate for you to get advantage of those ones. So, but there are other schools that are also taught in both English and French. So if you also do know some French, you can take advantage of that. But if you are a total English speaker, like you only speak English, then you only have opportunities to go to schools that offer that. And most of these opportunities lie in private institutions. There are still public schools that do this, but they are really competitive, and there are a lot of bottlenecks. If you want to go ahead and do it, it's fine. But the one we work with are private institutions that offer fully taught English programs, right? Fully taught English programs, and you can get as low as 7,000. Your tuition, your deposit would be between 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, depending on the school, as low as 7,000 to as high as 15,000. So depending on your course, depending on your school, right? Depending on the location of your school. So if a Paris school will be more expensive than a school that is in another city. Okay, so also you need to also account for your application fee. I forgot to mention that in Ireland, some schools collect application fees, some schools don't. So it now depends on the school. But for France, most of the schools will collect application fees. So it might be as high as €100, as high as €150. You need to account for that at the initial stage. Once you're done, you also need to account for what you call Campus France. That's paid in Naira. Depending on how the application is made, application is made through them, and you make the payments initially, or application might be made directly to the school, and then once you've done that, you have to make application through Campus France. That's around 50,000 for now. We don't know if it's going to go higher or not. Now, so what are you supposed to account for? Say we get you a 7K school, give or take, without scholarship, because some people are able to get scholarships of as much as 3,000 as well. So that drops your tuition fee that you need to actually pay. So you get a 7K school, you need to pay 3,005. Let's just say, for instance. So if we times this, let me go back to Rwanda. 1 times 1 2, let's say 35 times 1221. That's 1.587. No, 35. I didn't do it well. 35. That's 4.273. Let's just say 4.3 million using today's exchange rate. So you would need to account for 4.3 million. Also, for the purpose of your visa, you need to have your living cost in your account. And you need to show a minimum of 4 months bank statement. So it can be more, it can be up to 6 months, it can be up to 1 year if you like, but you need to show a minimum of 4 months, and you need to show between 7,000 to 8,000 pounds. Well, some would say as little as 5,000 pounds, but I would not recommend that. I would recommend as much as 10,000 pounds, because you need to show that you have enough living costs for at least 6 months when you're in the country. So this living cost is supposed to cover your accommodation. It's also supposed to cover your feeding and transportation and XYZ. But that is the amount you need to show, and this now has to be for 4 months. So you will not be needing to pay this money. You just need to show it in your account. Now, your visa application and other miscellaneous activities that you might need to run might also run up to as much as 500,000. Okay, so if I'm passing 500,000 to this, I would say you should be needing as much as, this is about 4.7, 4.8 million naira. So let's just round it up to about 5 million. So with about 5 million, with today's exchange rate, you can actually get a program in France, and you can actually see yourself studying in France. The great thing about France is that you would have a 1-year post-study visa, and you have access to 26 to 27 to 28, depending on how many countries join the Schengen area in the coming months or coming years. You would have access to all these countries, and you have all the opportunities that are existing in these countries as well. So quickly, I'm going to talk about Canada, and then we'll talk about Malta, and then we're good to go. So now, Canada is a favorite for a lot of people. All the countries I just mentioned before now, the UK, Ireland, France, they do not accept dependents. Okay, until recently, of course, the UK stopped dependents in January, while France and Ireland, they don't even accept dependents. So you have to have finished, and if you get a job, then you can actually bring your dependents. So dependents can be your spouse, and it can be your children. Now for Canada, Canada also was accepting dependents, which is your spouse and your children. But unfortunately, in January, there was an update to this, and they no longer accept dependents from September. And I would say from now, because other intakes are gone, right? If you were for April, May intake, it's too late already. That was the last intake that could actually accept your spouse, right? However, for Canada, you can still go with your kids. Okay, so your kids can still go with you, just your spouse cannot actually go on an open work, a spousal open work permit, which means that they can stay longer than 6 months, they can get a job legally, and they can work and earn and support you and be one big family. So the option for you would now be that you can actually get it with your children, but your spouse would have to get a visit visa. And the beautiful thing about Canada is that your visit visa can run from 3 years to as much as 10 years. So what I advise people that are applying for a Canada visa to do is get a fresh passport. Okay, if you get a fresh 10-year passport, if you've had your biometrics taken before 2-3 years ago, go and renew it, because they might actually use that as a factor. You have to give biometrics every 10 years. So say you have given 4 years prior and you don't want to give again, they will not give you longer than that in most cases. I'm not saying as a matter of fact, but what we've noticed in most cases, they'll probably give you within the duration of the validity of your biometrics. So do pay for a fresh biometrics, get a fresh passport of 10 years, and you just might so be lucky to have a 10-year visit visa. And what that affords you is up to 6 months in Canada. So you can actually visit your family and still have one big family time. Anyways, that's besides the point. Now for Canada, you have the option of, okay, these are actually for people going for PGD program. So if you have a very good result and you get an offer in a university, your spouse can still go with you. So it is not outrightly banned. You just cannot go on a diploma or a PGD anymore. You now have to have a place in a university doing a master's program or a PhD program. Okay, so that's the only way you can go with your spouse in Canada. Now, what are the average cost of schooling in Canada? I'm going to be focusing basically on individuals. If you have dependents and stuff, you can always reach out to us for more information on this. Average tuition fees for a PhD program. Also, I'm talking about master's or postgraduate programs, right? Not talking about undergraduates. So for a PhD program, you should be getting 12, 13, 14, 15, and up to 18 to 20,000, depending on the school for per year. So if you're going to a 1-year school or you're going to a 2-year school, you have to multiply whatever the school gives to you. Okay, so say let's take an average of 15,000 Canadian dollars. So I'm going to go to Rwanda and do the same thing. Let's go to Canadian dollars. Aha. Interesting. So Canadian dollars now has fallen way below 1,000. It was about 1,000 something previously. Let's see, it was about 1,168 as at 2 weeks ago, but now it is 832. So keep in mind that this figure is plus or minus, right? And of course, it's still going down. So with 882, you have 15,000 Canadian dollars. So let's say 15,000 times 832. So that's about 12.5 million as your tuition, as the school cost. Now, for most schools, you have to pay a deposit. So it now depends on the school. You might pay as much as 5,000, as much as 6,000, as low as 3,000, as much as a semester cost. So your first semester. So now this depends on the school. But I want to use like an average cost of 5,000. Okay. So say you pay 5,000 times 832. So that's 4.2 million. Okay, so that's the money that you actually have to pay. Now the next amount that you need to account for, but this is going to be in your bank account. You don't actually have to pay this money. You need to have the balance of your tuition fee, which is now going to be 10,000 Canadian dollars, and then you now also need to have your living costs. Now, recently, which was as of January, it took effect, but the announcement was made late last year. But in January, it moved from 10,000 for one single person to about 20,800 and change. So now you have to account for 20,800 and change, as well as 10,000 of your tuition fee. So if you're adding that, that's about 30,000, let's just say 31,000. So with 31,000, what you need in your bank account for a period of 4 to 6 months, I advise 6 months if you really want to get your visa out, would be 31 times 832. That's about 25.8 million. So let's just say 26 million naira has to be in your account. Now for Canada, you actually cannot just have the money that you require for your visa application, because they are of the opinion that if you're going to school, you should have more than that. You shouldn't use all your savings. You shouldn't just wake up one day and everything you've ever worked for in your life, you're going to use it to go and school. Or like the UK, if you need 30 million and 30 million in your account, they're fine with that. Since you're coming to give them all your money, they will take it, right? But Canada, on the other hand, they are concerned if you're using everything that you have in your possession as your tuition cost. So usually what we advise is that you have at least 50% above this money in your account. So say you're needing 26 million. 50% of 26 million should be around about 13.5 or 13, about 13 million, right? So 13 million plus 25 or 26, you're going to be having almost 40 million naira. So that is what you have to have in your account. Okay, so in terms of how to calculate this, what the duration is supposed to be like, who can sponsor you, and how to go about this, please, you can reach out to us and then we can do that breakdown. But that is not the purpose of this application. So other costs that you need to actually account for aside your visa, aside your tuition cost, would be your visa fee, would be your biometrics as well, and then maybe your flight ticket, which is not something that we're going to cover. So and then of course maybe application fee. Usually you when you're working with an agency, you do have to pay an application fee. That is also for the school as well, you have to pay an application fee about 100 Canadian dollars, some as low as 80, some as high as 150, your visa fee and all that. So you should be accounting for around an additional 500 to 600,000 to cover for that. So we had about 4.2 million with about 600,000. That would be about 4.8 to 5 million naira if you're going for a PGD program. Now, if you're going for a master's program, you would be accounting for more than that, because masters can be as high as 20,000 to 30,000 Canadian dollars for a year. And you have to actually pay a significant amount of that tuition fee, which I'm not going to go into for lack of time. So last here, but let me just see if I have a couple of questions, because this is my I thought they said 2-year post-study for France. No, unfortunately it's 1 year. You only get a 1-year post-study for France. It's for Ireland, UK you get 2 years. Also for Canada you get up to 3 years. Does France accept dependents? No, France does not accept dependents while you're studying, but after study. However, Germany accepts dependents. Finland also accept dependents, but we'll do another live where we actually talk about these schools and the conditions for how your dependents can come, because there are conditions that you need to meet. For Germany, you have to have come, you need to show that you can afford, blah, 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 blah. And of course, there's also the blocked account and all that. So there are certain hurdles you need to pass before you can bring in your dependents. So it's not like an easy thing to just talk about, but yet they do accept dependents. Okay, so those are the only questions. Okay, so I'm just gonna go. A moment, guys. I am aha, so I have it here. Okay, so the great thing about Malta is that it is a Schengen country. It's a very small, cute, pretty country, and they are basically just opening up to more international students. Of course, I think applying early, because you know, getting visa appointment and things like that is also a hurdle. But like I said earlier during this presentation, if you want to go to school, don't start 3 months before the intake. Sometimes you need to start planning a year and a half before, because there are certain things you need to do, and then depending on the country and how hard it is, there are certain hurdles you need to pass. You need to get appointment dates. You can't, if for instance, if I was talking about US now, you think you want to go to US in January, you're just starting now. Before you might even see you might not even see appointment dates. Do you understand? Of course, it's still possible now, but I'm saying that it's already getting too late. If you wanted to go in January, you should have started December, January of last year. Do you understand? Because of all the things you need to pass through and what you need to do to get what you want. Likewise, for some other countries such as Portugal, you need to get appointment date. Likewise, Malta as well. So if you want to go to these countries, you need to start early. Now, the beautiful thing about Malta, like I said, is that it's an English speaking country. So language is not like a very big barrier. Tuition fees are still reasonable. It's around 10,000 euro, right? And then you need to pay about 3,000 euro as a deposit. Okay, so that's one of the beautiful things. Although you might actually require certain grade for you to be able to be admitted, so but that is something that can be calculated at the point of admission. So usually they want people with higher grades, so a very high 2.2, a 2.1 and above. But of course, come with your results and come, and then we'll see the options that are available. You also don't need to have IELTS or GRE from Nigeria, since we're an English speaking country. And unlike some other countries such as maybe Finland, Portugal, you know, where you have to legalize documents, for Malta, you do not need to legalize your documents. Okay, so that is actually something that's amazing. So if we're doing Malta, for you to get an offer, you need about 3,000 pounds, sorry, 3,000 euros to have been paid. But for you to get your visa, you need to have paid about 50% of your fees. So if we're working with a general amount of about 10,000 pounds, it can be lesser, it can be higher, give or take, with just small tweaking. You're working with about 5,000 pounds. That's about 12.2 million. So that'll be about 6 million. Okay, so if you are looking to go to Malta, account for about 6 million for your application fee. Then you also need to have okay, sorry, the tuition is it can even be as low as 7,000. I just saw it here. I'm very, very sorry. Okay, you also need to have about 7 to 10,000 pounds for your tuition, sorry, for your living cost in a 4 months bank statement. Like I said, this is not an amount that you need to pay physically, but you need to account for it in your bank statement. And this is not something you want to start as at the time that you're just, if it's 4 months down the line, it's not now you want to start making sure your bank statement is complete. Why? Because you need to apply in time. So you might need to apply 3 months, 2 months before your course start date, which means your first month's bank statement should have been reading 4 to 5 months before, 2 months before your intake. And sometimes the visa application takes 2 weeks, sometimes this application takes 1 month, sometimes it takes even longer than that, depending on the situation. So that is why you want to start early, and then you want to talk to people like us. They also have a 9-month stay back option. So this is something that you can use to either stay back and look for work opportunities if that is what you intend to do. If you want to come back, that's also an option available for you. The beautiful thing is that you also have the Schengen area. What I advise people going to any country is look at all the opportunities around, especially for your course of study. Look at the country that you're most interested in and start learning the language. All you need to do is get up to an A2 level for you to actually start availing yourself of certain opportunities. So study the language while you're studying and know that that is the country that you're setting your eyes on, and then look for opportunities there. So if Malta is not your end goal, that's fine, but at least you have been able to get an internationally recognized institution, degree from an internationally recognized institution, as well as availing yourself of opportunities in over 26 countries that you're able to actually go to. So that is something that you might want to think about. So please, if you are looking to study in any of these countries, please reach out to us. There are some other countries that are slightly lesser than this. We probably might be talking about that, maybe like Austria, maybe like Germany. But Germany, you also need to have a blocked account, or if you have someone in Germany that is working, that is earning a certain amount of money, they can officially sponsor you, and so you do not have to actually have a blocked account. And by so doing, your requirement is very less. So, but if you were going to pay 11,800 and something in a blocked account that is tied up, for a 1-year period, then that already makes Germany a very expensive place to come and study. So that's all I have time to take. So let's do a recap. If you're going to the UK, on average, you should be expecting around 9 million thereabouts for your deposits, for your visa application, and XYZ. It might be slightly lesser once the exchange rate reduces, or you're going to a cheaper option school, but on average that's what you're going to need. If you're going to Ireland, you're going to need an average of about 15 million, because you need to pay off your entire 100% of your school fees. But this might be lesser if you get a school that now is open to giving you opportunities to pay 60%, and then you pay the rest once you have arrived in school. If you're going to France, you might be looking at around 4 million to 4.5 to finish your whole process. If you're going to Canada, you might be looking at around 6 million to finish your process. 6, I think, yeah, 4.2 plus about, okay, around 5 to 6 million to finish your process. And if you're going to Malta, between 3 to 4 million also to finish your process. Now, like I said, this does not account for what you need to show in your bank statement, ranging from 1 month for countries such as the UK to 4 to 6 months for the rest of the countries that I have mentioned. So that officially, oh my goodness, I'm so used to pounds. Yeah, Love Nkem has been saying I've been mentioning pounds for Malta. Thank you for correcting me. I did not even notice that was what I was doing. But please, aside the UK, every other country I have mentioned has been euro, and then Canada has been dollars. Okay, so please, Malta, Canadian dollars for Canada. So Malta is euro, Ireland is euro, France is euro, Germany is euro, Finland is euro, Portugal is euro. All other countries are euro. Please, for the European Union. So my question is not answered. Okay, sorry, Lekon, please. I just will scroll back. I thought they said 2 years. Lekon, what is the question? Lekon, can you ask your question again? Oh, Ogechi also corrected me, said euro, not pounds. Guys, please, I'm so used to pounds. UK was my favorite country for a long time, until now that people are now interested in other countries. So I'm so used to saying pounds. So please forgive the slip of tongue. Maybe I'm just very excited. Oof. Hi, I'm looking for Leko. Can I get masters with HND? Yes. Okay, so if you're looking, if this question came in when I was talking about UK, yes, you can get a master's with your HND. Mostly you can get a business course, especially when you have a work experience in limited number of schools. So we can try. Okay, But what you can guarantee, what you're guaranteed to get, is a pre-master's. So if you're open to a pre-master's program, especially if you want a specialized course, like you want to say you study geography now, you want to do something in geography, right? The best route might actually be to go for a pre-master's for about 3 to 6 months, depending on your previous grade, and then you progress into your master's program. So that option is also available for you. So what is Lakon's question? Black Sungram says hello. Oh, Lakon says I haven't answered this question, but honestly I cannot find. Lakon 7315, can you ask your question again, please? We still have about 5 minutes before we end. I'm just going to the top and then I'm going to search. Oh, unfortunately I can't find your question. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I can't find your question. Okay, unfortunately, I can't find your question. Please, if it is something that's really important and it helps you in your decision making, reach out to us and we'll definitely give you an answer. The beautiful thing about working with Next is that consultation is free, right? You don't have to pay anything for consultation. However, depending on the country you're going to, there might be some service charge. For the UK, it's completely free. For other countries, there are varying amounts depending on the school, because of course there are application fees to cater for, and then also other processes that you need to go through, and so there might be additional service fees for that. However, if it has to do with questions and helping you navigate through which country would be best for you and the one that works for you budget wise, family wise, opportunity wise, and all that, that is actually free of charge. So please reach out to us and then avail yourself of that opportunity. And then Godwin, thank you so much for your comments. I'm not going to read it out here so it doesn't look like I'm tooting my horn, especially as we're going to be reposting this. But thank you very much for the lovely comment that you have dropped. So yeah, I think that is all that we have time to take. I think we will do another one for two answering two questions, one for people looking at countries that still accept dependents, and then what criteria you would need to meet, because that is actually one of the pain points that we see a lot when people come to us. And the second one will now be for what are the rock bottom cheapest options. Mind you, rock bottom cheapest options have some hurdles you will also need to pass, such as visa no dates, or the visa processing, legalization of documents. You know, there are certain things that you might need to do. But of course, if you're hell-bent on availing yourself of international opportunities and your budget is denying you such opportunities, there are other options that you can think of, and we're going to be bringing that information to you on how to avail yourself of that opportunity. So till next time, thank you for coming, and keep it a date with us next week, Wednesday, where we bring to you other amazing information. So it's a bye from me. Mwah. Bye.